back on Marching to Madness this morning with a very special guest, my main man, Bruce Pearl, up in the plains in Auburn, Alabama. Coach Pearl picked up his 600th win of his career in Auburn's 78-61 win over Mississippi State. It was the last game of the season last year, Coach, so I didn't get to congratulate you then, but kudos.
Well, Ken, it just goes to tell you where I got all this gray hair, right? It's just we've been doing it a long time, and blessed. So many great players and great coaches have been, and I mean that with all sincerity, and grateful for the universities that gave me an opportunity to teach the game I love, and it's given me way more than I've given it. So it was good to get 600, and it's good to get that COVID year in the rearview mirror, and look forward to bigger and better things next year.
Yes, sir. And we talked about last year, you had Sharif Cooper and JT Thor, so many wow moments in what was a tough year, for all of us. But both are heading to the NBA. I'm guessing they're both going to be number one picks. Could you just talk about how these kids grew up when they came to Auburn, and now they may be picked July 29 right away?
Yeah, well, we're excited for both of those guys. We were the youngest team in college basketball last year. Not one of the youngest, but
or none.
The youngest. I had all freshmen and sophomores, and mostly freshmen. And we didn't have Sharif for 72 practices prior to his first game, and then his first game we almost beat Alabama at home, and he played 12 games, averaged 20 points and 9 rebounds, and set college basketball on fire before he got hurt and missed our last 4 or 5 games. And he's excited about the draft. He's the best playmaking point guard in the draft, and he'll have to fight the same challenges that Trae Young fought or Jared Harper. When Jared was with the Knicks at the end of the season this past year. But those guys that are a little undersized and don't fit that prototypical. All they do is win. Yeah. All they do is win.
DJ Khaled.
You look at them play. What's wrong with them? Well, they're just not 6'4" and 240. I mean, that's just they're not. And JT Thor, people forget, Ken, that JT was supposed to be in high school last year.
Sure.
He was a ninth grader in Alaska, and his family said, "My goodness, JT, you're awfully tall. You might be a pretty good basketball player." So they sent him into the lower 48. And he went to Huntington Prep, and then he went to Norcross, and then he came to Auburn when he was supposed to be a senior in high school. So this kid's paid the price. He's paid his dues. He bet on himself. He had some big games for us, last year. But obviously, those kids as just freshmen, even though they're going to be drafted, and both of these guys got a chance to be drafted in the first round. Mm-hmm. It's hard for those freshmen to have an impact in a league like ours against teams like, let's say, Alabama's team last year that had John Petty and all those Herb Jones and all those older guys. Same thing with Arkansas. Same thing with some of the better teams, obviously, in our league next year. But our guys are getting better. Mm-hmm. Our guys come in here and they train. We play fast. I'd like to think that we play very similarly to the way they're playing in the league right now. And it translates. And it translated with Chuma Okeke with Orlando, who went, first round a couple of years ago, 16th pick. Last year, Isaac goes 5 to Cleveland. He's the best defensive player in that draft. He played more minutes than any rookie in the NBA last year. He was second team all NBA rookie, so excited about that. And now JT and Sharif, and I got a couple guys on my team right now, Alan Flanagan or Jabari Smith or Walker Kessler or some other guys that they're going to be playing at that next level too. So very, very excited to be able to work with such great clay.
Yeah, great clay. I was going to tell you, I told you off camera, Isaac Okoro, the transition he made, I thought was beautiful. It was almost seamless because I got to cover the Raptors here. So I saw Cleveland late in the season, and he had a huge game. He had 20 points. He had about 8 or 9 rebounds, 8 of 16 from the floor. But that defense, what you're saying, the closeouts, even at the NBA level, they were NBA caliber.
Oh, he guard 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And I kept on telling teams, were asking me about Isaac. I said, look, I don't know about the rest of these guys in the draft. All I know is your head coach is going to want Isaac Okoro on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk about whether or not he's going to be a great shooter, whether or not he's a great offensive. I'm just telling you, your head coach is not going to take him out of the game.
Yeah.
Because of the way he can guard, how productive he is, and obviously, and Isaac is such a hard worker. He represents the name on the back of his jersey, Okoro, and that Auburn on the front of his jersey, and now the Cleveland Cavaliers really well.
Really well. Yeah. The transfer portal. And of course, I want to talk about your transfers in a second. It's the changing of the guard in many places, but you return a nice core with, like we're saying, Alan Flanagan, Devin Cambridge, Jalen Williams, and your bigs that we'll talk a little bit about in a moment.
Yeah, no, you're typically only as good as your returning cast, and the leadership that we're going to get from those guys, plus Stretch, Babatunde Akimbola, and then Dylan Cardwell. It's a good group. They're really, really solid. I mean, Alan and Chris Moore. Chris and Alan and Devin are all big wings, athletic, physical, shoot the basketball. Alan get downhill and score with the best of them. Chris is kind of an undersized, play him anywhere you want. Real productive player out of Arkansas. Good group, and I think Stretch and Dylan, if it weren't for two guys, named Jabari and Walker, Dylan and Stretch, could have dominant years this year. They're going to have dominant years at Auburn because they're both just freshmen and sophomores. But this year, because of being able to attract Jabari Smith, the number 4 player in high school basketball, because he's right down the street in Atlanta, about an hour and 15 minutes door to door. And he saw Isaac, he saw Chuma, he saw guys playing his position from Atlanta. And those guys weren't McDonald's All-Americans. They were top 40, top 50 high school players. They worked really hard. My coaching staff, my strength coach, did a great job with them, and they've been very successful. Jabari's going to tap into that. And then, of course, Walker Kessler comes in from North Carolina. Walker, Noonan, Georgia is about an hour away, again, from Auburn. We were a finalist for him coming out of high school with Duke and Virginia and Michigan and of course, North Carolina. He goes to Carolina. He got bigger, stronger. He got better. They did a nice job with him, just didn't play him as a stretch 5, which is what he is. And so he's going to be a shooting 5-man for us, and he ain't 7 foot. He's 7'1", and he doesn't have a wingspan. He's got a completely different wingspan, and a hard worker and a great kid. And so we got some pretty good pieces for us to be able to be competitive again this year.
BP, the king of Georgia, you get him out of there, man. Talk a little bit about that. The talent at the high school level in Georgia, it just gets better and better every year.
Well, I mean, I think Georgia, Atlanta is one of the great cities in our country.
Yeah.
But clearly it's also one of the most diverse cities in our country. There's a lot of wealth, a lot of success, and a very large population, and great high school coaching, great AAU coaching. I mean, Atlanta area is probably putting out more talent in football and basketball and some of the high-end sports, I don't know, than any other region.
Yeah.
And it's an hour and a half from Auburn's campus. And so that's why we've gone there. And you don't want to judge me by the company that I keep, judge me by my coaching staff and the men I hire, and judge me by the players that we've had here and how they've done. And I think that's the reason why we've been able to continue to go back into Georgia. Because look, it started off with Bryce Brown and Jared Harper and Anthony McLemore. No, those guys weren't SEC recruits.
Right.
None of them were SEC. But during their time here at Auburn, Jared and Bryce became first-team all-conference guys. And Anthony McLemore, he got 2 degrees from Auburn and was on a Final Four team and a couple of championships. And, I'm just really proud of those kids. Those kids laid the foundation. They laid the groundwork for the Sharifs and the JTs and the Jabaris and whoever we can bring in for, and Walker, and whoever we can bring in next year from Atlanta to keep that pipeline going.
Keep it
And
rolling.
Auburn is a school.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that people forget about. Auburn is one of the finest public institutions in the Southeast. I mean, it's right there with whoever you would name on a list of the top 5 institutions in the southeastern part of the country. And then if you add in, the athletic side of things, man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So we got the best of both worlds, and a wonderful small college town that is safe. And in this country right now, with God bless, with everything going on, there's so many places that are just not safe. Crime is up, and man, we got to just ask God to please protect us and help these communities heal in such a way where we could stop the violence and we get back to being the greatest country on earth.
Yeah. I'm not sure when I look at this, if we can find a better, I don't think we can, group of transfers, because they addressed a lot of needs. I know you want to go after shooting, you're going to go after defense, but Wendell Green Jr., KD Johnson, and Zep Jasper as people who'll fortify that perimeter, they all fit. They supplement each other.
Yeah. Ken, I agree with you. And that's going to be a real key to our year. Because, I mean, we got great players in the SEC, man. I mean, we got great guards in the SEC. And we got guys coming in from Georgia and KD Johnson, College of Charleston and Zep Jasper, and Eastern Kentucky and Wendell Green. And they're coming to Auburn. And so obviously from a standpoint of just, it's a step up in some ways. But I think they're all up to it. I mean, I really do. I think they're all up to it. I mean, KD is a vicious, tenacious defender. He's unbelievable getting downhill, and he was second in our league in getting the foul line per shots attempted. He was number 1 in the league in steals per minutes played. He can create some havoc on the basketball court. And he's a tough physical kid. I was actually the first one to offer KD a scholarship in the SEC. And then, of course, we wind up getting Sharif. And then KD says, man, the roster's a little too crowded there. I'm going to do something else. And then when Sharif leaves, he transfers in.
Yeah.
And then Wendell Green, man, I'm going to tell you a quick story on Wendell. So I'm in West Virginia, and I'm there to watch Sharif and a couple of other guys. And I'm watching Lalemure play. I believe it was one of the better prep school teams in Florida. And it could have been IMG. It could have been Mount Verde. I'm not sure. I called my son, Steven. I said, who is this little guy, Wendell Green? I mean, he's out here killing these fools. And he says, yeah, he's a solid mid-major guy. He's probably only 5'10" or whatever. And I said, well, what's his rating? He said, mid-major, low mid-major. I said, let me tell you, ain't nothing low mid-major about him other than the fact that he's 5'10". But we were set at point guard. We were fine. All of a sudden, here comes, the name pops up. Steven walks back in my office and said, Dad, you remember that little guy you liked down in West Virginia? And by then, I didn't remember him. I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So, no, I don't remember. He said, you called me about him. Oh, yeah, what about? He's leaving. He went to Eastern Kentucky, had a great year. He can really shoot it. He really competes. He brings a level of confidence and swag. And you know what? He's got a bigger chip on his shoulder than I do. And that's a pretty big chip. He's always been overlooked. And why? Because he's 5'10" or 5'11". And he's proud of it. And then Zep Jasper, he was a guy that was on really good AAU teams, but he was a South Georgia boy and never the best player on those AAU teams, but he could really defend. He could really compete. I look back at my old notes on him, and I really liked him. But he goes to College of Charleston. He has a great career at Charleston. He graduates, and now he's got, a year or two left, and he's just a terrific guard. Whether he's a point guard or he's an off guard, defensive player, just a winner. And so I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, yeah. And then we talk about, like we're saying, Walker Kessler. I saw the game against Florida State where he absolutely went off for Roy Williams in North Carolina. Then, of course, Jabari Smith, who arguably is the best lone player in 2021. how much fun are you going to have calling a game with those two guys? And then, of course, you got Stretch and Dylan Cardwell right there. So much
Well,
depth right there in the post.
our front line's really good,
Mhm,
and and our guards are really new,
mhm.
and we're a really new basketball team, so we're gonna have to come together really quickly. We've had a good summer so far, um, and you know, uh, I've always played small ball because I've never been able to track the kind of quality inside players that we have right now. The way the game's called, they let you kind of kill each other on the inside, and they're a little bit. Sometimes those inside shots aren't always the highest percentage shots, so we're gonna have to do a good job of finishing and playing through contact. And our practices have got to be more physical to be able to react to the way the game's being called. Um, but no, great group. And the bottom line, it's culture. Ken, the
Mhm.
bottom line is culture. People ask me, what have we done in addition to, obviously recruiting better and at Auburn to get us more competitive? Bottom line is this: we simply wake up every day
Mhm.
and ask God, what would you have us do today? What would you have us do today?
Yeah.
And just give God a chance to bless you by trying to work, by trying to the way you treat each other, by the way we try and live.
Yeah.
And God knows we've made mistakes every day, but that's been the key to our success. And then we've tried to recruit guys like that. So the thing about keeping this thing going is I can look a recruit in the eye and I can tell, let me tell you something, I have a great locker room. I
Mhm.
have a great locker room. I mean, these kids really care about each other. They're competing, but they want to win, and they're not selfish. And oh, by the way, you can get there yourself. Look at the guys that have gone and been drafted and done well. And so, right now we're in a good place. We have another team this year that has a chance. But
Mhm.
I won't tell you now. I'm gonna brag on the SEC,
Mhm.
and it ain't about any of the other conferences. It's not it just I don't know if there's a conference in the country that's stronger top to bottom than the SEC. That is not a criticism of anybody else.
Right.
I see 9 teams, maybe 10, but I'd say 9 for sure, that have a legitimate chance at not only making the NCAA tournament but advancing. I
Yeah.
I I, I think it is going to be wide ass open
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
league, and I'm proud of the SEC.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm happy for our league. I'm happy for the players that are in it, the officials that are working it, the coaches. We got something going very, very special.
I look at your roster. I'm just wondering and thinking about how Alan Flanagan might be partially a coach on the floor for you because Wes is your assistant. He knows the game. He's had it since he was a child.
Yep, and Wes's daddy coached him at Arkansas.
Hmm.
The best coach in the Flanagan family is the old man,
Yeah.
and Wes is an unbelievable right hand to me now. I
Hmm.
mean, he is so tough. He is so ready. I got guys so ready to be head coaches. Steven is
Hmm.
ready. My son
Hmm.
Ira's ready.
Hmm.
Wes has been there. But you're right. Alan is he's been coached. He's tough. Um, he is such a physical competitor.
Yeah.
He can guard anybody on the floor. I'd like him to try to fashion his game after Isaac,
Hmm.
except he can shoot it better than Isaac.
Hmm.
Um, and I think he could become as good a defender as Isaac. He's got ways to go to be that good. But Allen's going to be a huge, huge, huge factor on our team this year.
Last thing, coach, name, image, and likeness. It was high time these kids get something for what they put in. And it came to fruition finally. I love Judge Kavanaugh. He says the NCAA's business model would have been flatly illegal in other industries in America, which to me, it's true. But anyway, talk about your thoughts on name, image, and likeness and how you can see the game transition with that.
Well, I have always been in favor of what I call a realistic scholarship.
Yeah.
Tuition, room, and board, that doesn't get it done. There's
No.
there's truly a different cost of attendance. I think the NCAA addressed those things and made it a much more realistic scholarship over the last couple of years. Um, you know, I am for doing more for the student athletes. I was somebody that believed that um, the value of the education is something. It really truly is, and it's not been given near enough credit for how it's changed this country and educated this country in so many ways. Inner city kids, people in rural America. If it wasn't for the athletic scholarships, they might not have gone to college, and it's been a really good thing. I think the name, image, and likeness is something that the kids have earned, and certainly as far as like Judge Kavanaugh said, from a business model, it's the American way. It's ultimately a capitalistic society.
Capitalist.
I believe in it very, very much, in those freedoms,
Mhm.
and so I'm glad the guys are going to have the opportunity to be able to benefit from that. It's going to present some challenges to us as far as adjudicating it, and but I think it'll be a process that we'll get through. Um, and I'm glad the student athletes are going to be able to, in addition to a very valuable scholarship, be able to benefit from their own name, image, and likeness.
Coach Bruce Pearl here on Marching to Madness. Coach, this is always fun, man. I appreciate your time and your efforts in helping me put this together. And I know I'll see you soon somewhere.
Ken, you do a great job. You stay on top of the game, care about coaches and student athletes, and you ask good questions, and you'll get a decent answer every now and then. So good to see you, man.
Thank you. Good to see you.